Ground Zaka, Agumukarwire, Shakiri.
Parliamentarians are placing bets. Traffic officers, they are placing bets. Generals are placing bets. We know them.
The Greek, a professional gambler and high roller, once said that in gambling, the house always wins. The stakes are against you. This centuries-old quote, however, seems to have little impact on many gamblers in the Pearl. Since its legalization, the gambling industry has changed face over the years in terms of penetration. Its popularity on the spectrum of social classes cuts across, broadly taking various forms, including lotteries, casinos, sports betting, bingos, pool betting, and slot machines. Researchers from the Economic Policy Research Center at Makerere University unfolded the socio-economic effects of gambling on Ugandans.
One of the most problem gambling, which is a social problem to the society, because it has pressure on state resources in terms of health care expenditure, and of course it takes away the vitality of the youth from doing economically and socially responsible activities into crime, such as prostitution, drug addiction, and which also can manifest into money laundering and terrorism. All those social vices are associated with gambling. So we thought it would be wise to find out the determinants of this problem, because it was all over the place. The suburbs were full of gambling shops, particularly sport betting, and we wanted to also see the revenue effect of the activity and advise the government on actions to take.
This study was aimed at rectifying the anomalies created by the gaming industry and informed the current legislations. It called for protection of the public from overstimulation of latent gambling through limitation of advertisement, prohibiting underage gambling, using appropriate information technology tools to ease the collection of tax and flow of information on gambling activities between gambling outlets and authorities, strengthening capacity to track gambling businesses that are involved in tax evasion and money laundering, and creating special gambling zones outside the city like Macau in China and Las Vegas in the United States of America. 2 years on, the gambling industry seems to be operating outside of the law. Betting houses have opened shop across major city centers in the country, and these are engaged in persuasive advertisements in form of excessive signage. Minors have been lured into partaking in this trade that is already overwhelmed by big numbers dominated by men hoping to fluke extra cash. These and many vagaries are believed to have triggered a recent pronouncement by the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Monitoring about halting the license renewals of all sports betting companies operating in the country.
Should not license new betting and gambling companies. 2, those that are expiring should not be renewed. 3, we look at a mechanism on how we can strengthen and better regulate this sector with a view of looking at different options that include limited number of them, also looking at the locations, the areas where they're operating, because as you speak, Madam Speaker, the sports betting now, all these machines are everywhere in the country. His Excellency the President will be giving more details in a few days to come, and I would beg that Madam Speaker will wait for his communication before we open up for this debate. But the issue is better regulation for this sector to protect our young people, at the same time balance other factors.
What the minister is saying, which is very true and we have been working on, is that we want to promote Ugandans to be the owners of these businesses. And we've already drafted on local content regulations, which will be due for signing anytime. Meaning me and you, if we are Ugandans, we can be the owners. So you will not talk about capital flight. There will be no Muyindi Yankuvye. It will be now Omuganda Yanzivye. You understand? Yeah, that's what we want in that area.
Edgar Agaba is the Executive Director of the National Lotteries and Gaming Board, which oversees all gaming activities in the country.
Legally, casinos, it's very rare to find an illegal casino because these are private and high-end clubs. You cannot hide. So in terms of casinos, we have around 15 casinos, but some are online. Around 5 of them are strictly online. Most of them are in Kampala. There is only one in Jinja, one in Mbale, and one in Entebbe, and one in Gulu. So we are trying to make sure that those areas which are outside Kampala have one to safeguard their investment. This is a very high-level investment. If you look at a casino, it's not less than $3 million that is put into that in a space of 250 square meters. So yes, legally, I would say we have 15 casinos, both online and which are the ones which are land-based. Sports betting, we have 27 companies that are doing sports betting. Around 18 have shops, have premises, and the balance is online.
Currently, there are 1,442 licensed premises across the country. Of these, 655 are renting spaces up-country, while 787 in Kampala. The gaming sector is believed to be employing about 9,000 people. Government collected at least 45 billion shillings in taxes in the financial year 2017-18, while projecting a collection of 55 billion by the end of 2018-19.
Parliamentarians are placing bets. Traffic officers, they are placing bets. Generals are placing bets. We know them. They are placing bets. Everyone places a bet. Whoever sits down in his own back room and watches a game, there's no way he can deviate from placing a bet.
Proliferation of gambling has seen the industry diversify from the early gambling modes like casino gambling and national lotteries to new modes like sports betting and online betting.
We started seeing the betting industry creeping in and taking over the front shops. In Bukoto, where I saw a clinic phase out and a betting shop comes in, the same building.
Its popularity can be argued to have been amplified by the unwavering love for football amongst majority of the youth and has vindicated their support for foreign games.
This game clearly having a draw written all over it, both teams edging and sizing themselves out here. It will be a good question to see just how this one
On
turns out.
radio and television, it's not business as usual. Presenters have shifted from the traditional way of just giving their audience latest sports news and score updates. It is now laced with a dash of what has come to be known as sure wins in the betting world.
Muganda wange ng'osobola okusiba ku mipiira egy'enjawulo kiro ky'olunaku olwaleero Fiorentina esamba Inter Milan odds nsava nnyo. Tiimu ya Fiorentina bw'oba ogambye nti ewangula
12 a.m. Most of the day's games have ended. Abdu Tumwesije of Radio Simba is behind the mic on his show Akapapula, a moniker for a betting sleep.
Onyumira okusiba omupiira zino ze ssaawa endaganye ez'akapapula oyagala kufuna zishuwa win odds ezisinga ova oba zi anda
omuyindi mbadde muse naye ttiimu ebaddemu nennemesa miliyoni 8 duliba olwo ngenda kumwabya sente zange ateekwakozezza naye kweza enkalala z'osiba
mugawalayi bagenda kwabya buterevu ku 97 akasisa satfm Radio Simba empologomede mekwanizako gwe muganda ngaweza lubagola Simba.
On Super FM, Alex Chimuli has a daily show where he takes listeners through probable wins.
Benefika ne timu ya Chavos bajja kulanga bakwatakana ke mitwale 3.5 nobera odi 2.3 odi 1.7 ne jimu koje pejo kwera kulango.
The overwhelming numbers of those who call in and send messages asking for tips is testimony enough for how sports betting in particular has taken over.
Simba. Now, to get those games right, once you tell someone give Manchester United and it wins, once you give 4 teams and they're all correct, a person who has one is a person who always tells the other, and a friend tells a friend. There's a guy on Radio Simba, there's a guy on such and such a radio, he's giving out correct predictions. So that's how things move.
Bettors religiously follow through with the advice given to them by these sports analysts. To deeply understand how betting companies have spread out across the country, we head to Iganga district in the eastern part of Uganda. The main town alone houses close to 10 betting shops. It's here that we catch up with Enoch, a pathological gambler.
Olunaku lwe nasooka okuzannya zaala lwennyini nkakasa na wangula oba nakozesa 15,000 nenfuna emitwalo gyali 12. Ebyo ebiseera nali nkozesa kapapula nnyo nga kentera okuzannya awo nentandika okuzannya zaala wa vacho. Mu vacho omulundi gwange ogwasooka okulyamu ku kasente akaali kawera yali miliyoni 1.4. It was jackpot ya premier. When amalo jiria najigulamu epichipichi yali ya miliyoni 1. Wayitawo weeks nga 3 nemba kuba ye miliyoni zaali 2.5 nzigulamu akapoloti ako nentandika okupangirira mpola nemba ddamu nemba kuba ye miliyoni zaali 2.5 nentandika okuzimba era kati nsula mu nnyumba yange.
What started as trying out his luck slowly turned into an addiction after a few wins. Lately, the 28-year-old cannot spend a day without making rounds to betting shops.
Lunaku mbetinga na ate si betinga steke ya 10,000. Zentandikira ku 15,000 mutwalo. Si ate sigenda mu mitwalo 2. Ankuba naye nange mukuba. Sijja kitwala nti andi waggulu nzamuli waggulu.
I say wiggy wagga on my toes. A wiggy wagga on my toes. I say wiggy wagga on my toes.
Although Enoch bagged some wins, it's a different story for local musician DJ Michael. Introduced to casino games by a friend, Michael says it's one mistake he regrets till this day. In a candid interview with Star TV's Ibrahim Mukasa last month, he revealed that the game of chance sent his music and pockets down crashing.
Kasino yankosa nnyo mu bulamu bwange obwa music.
kasino nali manyi nti just byakunyumirwamu awo otegeera kumbe kasino etwala amamotoka kasino etwala buli kimu ky'omuntu singa obeera nga oli addicted otegeera so my friend told me that casino is a game between a fool and a thief.
Who inspired you to go to the casino?
Weebale nnyo omuntu eyandeetera emizangate egyo y'omuntu omu ate yanyamba era okunyingiza mu industry bamita ragadi owulira ssebo ragadi yaŋŋamba tozanya ebintu bino Michael kuba ragadi musajja mugagga yamanyi limiti ye bw'aba ali mu kasino amanya ngenda zanyayo kakadde
nkomaawo
naye nze olwokuba nalinanga ebizibu bingi nga njagala kino njagala kiri nga njagala kuba njabye kasino tosobola jjabya.
If you want to die poor, stake your money on things where you don't have control whatsoever. It's not in your control. Somebody else is controlling your odds of winning or losing. You are going to die poor. People who think that they will use others to enrich them, in most cases they die poor. Economics is very clear that speculation is one of ways you can make money, but speculation is highly risky. It's actually beyond risk, is uncertainty. You are not in charge of anything. If you were betting and you were part of the players, that's a different thing. That's why they don't actually allow players to bet. Why do you think so? Because the player will change the odds, because they are in charge. Now, how can I be in Uganda and you are betting how a certain smaller team, Wolves, cannot beat Manchester?
Economist Ramadhan Gobi, a lecturer at Makerere University Business School, says this trend mirrors bigger economic problems.
Which society has ever transformed by spreading out the games of chance? Which society? Actually, games of chance come with development. It's development which brings the game of chance, not the other way around, that the game of chance will bring development. No. There are so many countries. If you went to the US and you go to Vegas, everywhere you will see people are spending money. And now you come back to Kampala and you also want to turn Kampala into Vegas. We are not. What causes the other? It's a matter of, this is not even chicken and egg kind of challenge we have. The truth of the matter is, we shall not develop if we allow our younger people, and even the old ones, spend their hard-earned money on things which don't add value to their lives and to the lives of Ugandans. We shall not do it. Somebody will say, a selfish neoliberal economist, that as long as they are gambling in a sports betting shop which is owned by Uganda is not losing anything. After all, they are just taking the money to another Ugandan. But also that transfer of money from the low income to one person can create economic impediment because you increase inequality.
It has been argued that betting affects mostly the poor and illiterate. These have fallen prey to illegal gaming activities.
People are importing these slot machines as spare parts. So you never get to know when they're imported. They're assembled here and thrown in a village in Uganda. And when you go there, it has been moved from one bar to the next bar. It is as small as a laptop. Because if you can now play everything on telephone, what about the ones who are they're actually moving for those who don't have the modern telephones. So it is a challenge. So when we sign these MOUs with Ginger and Tebe, is to ask them also, we want information about those illegal machines. Actually, we are soon going to destroy around 700 machines. We have just applied for a court order. We have them in our custody.
The board maintains that rolling out initiatives to clean up the industry will save face.
To clean up the industry, we must stop the advertising. We must reduce the signage to the very minimal size. We must reduce the number of shops. we must register the people who play. If you and me walk into a shop, must be able to register, get our national ID. If you are not a Ugandan, maybe your passport and your details. Because there are certain things we need to clean up. We don't want money laundering in this sector. So with these kind of efforts, soon you'll not be able to realize that there is actually gaming on the street.
However, experts advise that in doing this, government should think outwards rather than inwards.
The cost of gambling could be low at the moment, but could rise to be higher than the gains from the revenue. Some of the costs are unobservable. You may not be able to quantify it or give it a monetary value, like problem gambling.
If you can count the tickets per day, it will give you a sense of the loss that people go through on a daily basis. There is a lot of anger, there is a lot of frustration. It may lead also into drugs and alcohol, because if you are that frustrated, the next stopover will be a bar. It will be alcohol to try and wash away your frustration, which indeed makes matters worse, because it's eventually turning to addiction on top of addiction as a negative coping mechanism to try and run away from the frustrations. But unfortunately, tomorrow you will return, hoping that you will recover what you have lost. That is the vicious cycle. And still, frustration continues. So it becomes a bigger problem for you as an individual. And yet it's hard for you to pull out. To educate the society about the dangers of continued gambling, the consequences, because all the time is wasted. Young men in their prime productive years are engaged in unproductive behavior all throughout the day. You can do without it. That's what I would think. That total banning also is an option.
You want to view it. You want it in full view of the law. The law should be able to view it. And banning it would not be the solution. Supporting it in a regulated environment would be the best way to go. And how do we go about that? One, zoning, which is localizing them to certain areas, which discourage people. They are long distance from residential and urban areas. Secondly, age limits, which are linked to biometric data of the ID system. Thirdly, opening times. The gambling opening times should be regulated in such a way that it doesn't open in the morning. It's an entertainment activity. It shouldn't open in the morning. It should open in the evening when people have worked and they want to relax.
Those in the gambling business, on the other hand, are calling for regulations that will level the playing field.
If somebody places 5 games, for one to get some money, you should win the 5 games. Okay? If you lose a game, then the money goes to the company. So there is an imbalance. Maybe these are some of the regulations we would need. Let the government come out and say, if I place 10 games and win 7, why don't you pay the 7 games? Okay? Maybe. These are some of the balances we need into the... Let it sound fair.
The gambling business has stamped its marks into the socio-economic cohesion of the Ugandan community for the good and the bad. This practice has even led to many a Ugandan resort to settling arguments by placing bets, and this is not limited to a particular community.
It is not good to use it as a job. It is not good to use it as a source of gain. It is not good to make it your livelihood. It is not good. It is only good if you are playing for leisure and entertainment. But if you make it your source of income, for us that is no. Don't bother to do that. It is not an income that you can rely on. It is not a source of livelihood that you can rely on. It is not a venture that you can start investing in. No.